Sweden wants to join NATO as soon as possible. The Nordic country applied for membership at the same time as Finland last year, shortly after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. But while Finland was accepted this April, Turkey and Hungary are blocking Sweden from joining. Let's look at what's holding up the process and what Sweden can bring to the Western military alliance. Sweden is strategically located next to NATO's newest member, Finland. If Sweden joined NATO, troops would be able to go through Swedish territory into Finland to defend the 800-mile-long border with Russia.
Those two countries, along with Norway and Denmark, form a type of Nordic fortress in Northern Europe, which helps NATO shore up its defenses against Russia, both over land but also at sea, in the Baltic Sea.
The Baltic Sea is the shortest direct waterway from Russia to the west. This is where Sweden's Gotland Island is located. NATO often conducts military exercises here, and the island could be used as a base to protect its naval forces in Northern Europe.
By joining NATO, Sweden also reinforces the alliance with weaponry. It has surface-to-air missiles, which will help NATO bolster its defenses, air defenses in this region. In addition, Sweden also has submarines for the Baltic Sea, and they have a deep knowledge of Russian affairs, having been so closely located to Russia for over decades, in a way that many European countries haven't.
For centuries, Sweden avoided taking part in military conflicts. But the country has worked closely with the alliance in the past.
Sweden has had a close partnership with NATO for several decades, going back to the mid-1990s, where Sweden was part of the NATO mission in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And then since then, it has participated in various NATO missions in Afghanistan, and it's been part of what's called an enhanced opportunity partnership.
But Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 made Sweden rethink its policy of non-alignment. Russia opposes NATO membership for Sweden and Finland and said this would have consequences.
Swedish and Finnish intelligence services are prepared for increased cyber attacks, increased espionage. They say they're not concerned about direct military action at the moment, but Russia has threatened both countries that there would be consequences if they joined NATO.
Every NATO member needs to approve Sweden's application to join. Hungary and Turkey are against it. Hungary's parliament says it's because of what it calls unwarranted Swedish criticism of its democratic record, while Turkey accuses Sweden of sheltering Kurdish militants that Ankara considers to be terrorists.
Sweden made a number of concessions to Turkey to address these concerns, including passing a new anti-terrorism law. In Parliament, they made it illegal to be a member of a terrorism organization, and that includes the PKK, which is a Turkish militant group that Sweden also labels as a terrorist organization.
Hundreds of people protested in Stockholm against the new law, saying the Swedish government is bowing to Turkish pressure. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan asked Sweden to stop the protests before he can agree to the membership. NATO's Secretary General called a meeting with Sweden and Turkey to try and sort out the issues before the alliance holds its summit in Lithuania in July.